Hey guys, it's Tony. Welcome to my shop. Today we're going to turn the rest of the cores from that box elder burl we cored and dried a few weeks back. So I've got the 8-inch one on the lathe right now. We're just going to get right to it. Should be a fun, easy, quick turn. I'm going to go over how to reverse mount the bowl. So we'll put a recess inside, mount it to the chucks and flip it around, put a proper tenon on it, flip it back around. We'll go back and forth a couple times, but it should be a pretty quick project. And the biggest thing we're going to learn on this one is how to get that recess. You can expand your jaws into it to flip it around to really fix your tenon on all these different bowl cores. Anyway, stick with me. Hope you'll have a good time. So you can see here, I've got the little teeny stub from where we cored it in my small chucks. And we just have her turned around on the face here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here with the box end scraper, and we're going to open this up so we can fit our other set of jaws in there to expand it, put a proper tenon on it, flip it back around for that. The material's not too thick. I mean, it looks a little thicker than it is in real life here because this isn't a very big bowl. But let's take a look here. We've got 20 mil material, a little under 3/4 of an inch, or right around 3/4 of an inch. Oh, look, I should probably show you where we're looking. See, it's right there. So we're going to go ahead and go through that. We've got 20 mil, 3/4 of an inch. Plenty of material to make a nice, thin, pretty box elder burl bowl to go with the other one. And this one's got the little live edge on it there, see? So we'll have our little live edge part to kind of complement the other bowl we just finished. So let's see how we do. So for this one here, I'm going to go ahead and stick with our standard tool rest, just the cast iron one. We want to be able to bring it in there pretty good. And if we look at, again, pulling out our ruler, it's a 6-inch ruler, so you can see we're about an 8-inch bowl, and my jaws can open up better than 4 inches, but we're going to try to start out with a 4-inch in here just to see where we can, if we can expand that in there enough to hold it firmly while we go on the other end. I am not going to clear the inside out yet because we're going to be doing the concentric tenon on the back first, so all we need is a good mechanism to hold it. For that, I'm going to be using a box end scraper, and we're going to come right in there. So got to make sure your tool rest is high enough so you don't scrape the bottom edge, depending on how thick your scraper is. You could use a carbide for this too. But we're going to come in there and make sure that we can get just that top edge in there a little bit like that, and that should do the trick for us. And we're going to spin it up. So about 800 RPM, and again, this is kind of wobbly, so that's why we want to get another tenon. So I'm just a little bit lower than flat. That very well could be enough. There, I went into a slight angle. See, we still don't quite have a grip here. That's how far out around it is. So I need to go in a little bit deeper. Once we're in like that, we can grab a small pointy gouge if we want a little bit more of a dovetail. That should give us a flat spot for our chuck to rest on and have to open those jaws up. This is a light piece. It's completely dry. So the way we can test that is you just grab your next set of jaws and make sure you're going to clear the top of the jaw and then see if we can open them up. Whew, if I don't grab the right chuck key, that won't work at all. So again, we'll get it up in there, open up the chucks into this spot and see if we can open them wide enough to hold on to it. And we might be just missing the edge there. Or going the wrong direction, that's also an option. Go backwards, forgot us backwards. So we're going to expand our jaws. I'm going to do it here on the table to get them open a little bit. Give me a easier starting spot, I think. And we'll see if they'll open up far enough into that for us. It should self-center for us if we got a good hole, but this is a shallow bowl, so we might get out there and find out that there's just not there, and we might have to use the outside edge here. This is terrible if I don't have it right the first time. This normally works. I'm at 105 millimeters, so we should be really close to the edge there. Open it up just a bit more. One thing I love about the Hurricane jaws is they have a huge amount of travel. But see, now we're out too far for this. So we're going to actually have to use the jaws further out, use the outside edges of our jaws to hold that. Now, even if you had a vacuum chuck, that you couldn't vacuum chuck this right now. because you don't have an even surface in here. So instead of we're right here, I'm going to pull it back around, reset up, and we're going to put another recess a little further out. We don't want to go too far because we have this live edge here that we're really trying to preserve. Let's see how wide that is. That made it all the way around. See, we're quite oval. We're not all the way in over here yet. We're still keeping our wall thickness. We still have some material to work with. We get up the pointy gouge. It should be enough of a lip to expand the chuck into, I hope. We're going to have to shrink her though, and then it might be too deep with these chucks, and I might have to try to come up with another plan. And if I do, then I'm going to restart the whole video. It might work. Going too far. A little bit too far. Make it easier to hold it in place though. So I don't know what the recommended way to do this is. I'm making an assumption that what I'm doing is normal, but it might not be. I'm using the outside of my chuck to hold the bowl in place, like that, and hoping that we're going to be relatively straight here. So let's go ahead and swap chucks out and see if that worked. You can see this is all I had for a tenon on the back. That's why I'm trying to do it this way. So let's swap out chucks and I'll be right back. Okay, got my other chuck off. So we'll get our HTC on here. See if that held on nice. Might be easier now because it looks a little wobbly for me to adjust that from this side. See if we can get a little different kind of balance on it. Let's see how that spins up. There you go. So a little bit of start and stop there, a little bit of foibles. It's not something I do every day, but you kind of get the idea. Put a recess on the inside of our core, gives us access to this outside. So I can clean this off. We have a piece of the burl that popped out here that's going to be an issue for us. So we're going to try to include that around our tenon. So we might only end up with like 7/8 of a tenon when we do this. But first thing I'm going to do is clean off that knot on the bottom and see if we have any other cracks. A little bit more speed. Just have my 1/2-inch bowl gouge. You can hear that crack. So maybe we'll come the other way. See where the least stress of that crack's going to be. And I'm looking at how I could possibly round this whole bottom, and if I have to fill or manage this crack. That crack does look like it goes beyond just the little bit of that bowl bottom. So this might have been the wrong piece of timber to try to demonstrate what I'm trying to do here. But I'm going to go ahead and flatten this off just a little bit more so it's round, and then I'm going to go ahead and put CA in here and try to stabilize that before we put a tenon on. And the tenon's going to have to be just outside, which we can get away with outside of this inclusion or the little piece of the burl that came out. Let's see if that crack still exists. It still does. So I am going to go ahead and fill that before we move on any further, just to stabilize it. I don't want it blowing out. And then we're going to measure using our smaller chuck, which is a 50mm, and we came just about in there with the eyeball pretty good. So that's going to probably be the size of our tenon. So you can see where our tenon's going to overlap, and it's going to be a very shallow tenon on a very light bowl. So I don't think that'll be a safety hazard at all. Not ideal, but we have plenty of meat there to do it. So let's go ahead and stabilize this first. We'll cut a shallow tenon into this bowl, flip it, and then I think from this side, after we get the tenon in, we can actually finish the hole outside before we flip it around. We might not even have to flip it twice. If we get this tenon sized right, it won't even make a mark on the foot. So I think that's what we're going to try to do. Okay, I did that off the lathe because I wanted it to be nice and flat. And if you can see here, I filled all the way in, even that little burl knockout. I just flattened it off and filled it. I don't know if that'll be structurally better, but it'll give us a nice smooth surface and it'll be easy to finish. So we'll go ahead and clean that off. We'll just use the 1/2-inch bowl gouge with the long grind. Just kind of skim it, see if that, then we'll make a tenon from there. Again, we're about 900 RPM. Take a look with our little gauge here. We go inside of that. We'll stay within the 52 millimeters. Okay, so with our smaller pair of jaws, that's pretty good eyeball on that. We're in there. We can now go ahead and clean up this outside rim, just like we would any other bowl, and then maybe sand it even on this end, save us some time flipping it back and forth. You can tell the wood's pretty. That fill I did there looks very nice. Looks like almost an epoxy fill, and that's just CA and 10 minutes of patience. So let's go ahead and pull this around the outside edge. Jumped off bevel there, lost some support, but you can see how pretty that's going to be and how oval the bowl is. So we do have, oh, look at all that burl. We do have some ways to go. But I want to point out the reason I cored this is that wood. Look at that. All of that would have just been shavings if we hadn't gone through the trouble of coring that last piece. And all of that beautiful flame and spalt. Got a little loose knot up here. So while we have it up, let's just stabilize that knot. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to end up with a really pretty little dish here. Shallow bowl dish. There's beautiful grain, just beautiful. Plus we'll have that little live edge that adds some really, I think, some pretty unique interest. So I'll continue around just what I was doing there. I'm going to get a little further this way because our very bottom, I think, we still have some there to take care of. All right. Still feels like we're a little high on the tool rest. That last ugly noise was us hitting that live edge over here. Clear all the way around here. Teeny bit of wax still left up on this corner, which I think that I can pull that around the other direction. That's a pretty piece of wood. That's going to sand up beautifully and just give us a lovely presentation piece there. And if we're lucky, and I'm saying lucky because I'm not positive that this foot will look nice, but it'll be very easy to sand that off and just have a nice flat bottom when we're done. Let me see if you guys got a good, if you can really see that or not. All right, pull you around over here because I'm making a different turn. I'm dropping things on the ground though that I probably won't be able to find later. It's always nerve-wracking. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a shear scrape cut along this edge just to deal with the little bit up here where we still have some wax. So let's see if we can get that to work really well. Using the same gouge. Just getting nice sawdust off of there. There's a couple of little knocks right there. I'm trying to see if we're going to be taking that down when we get up there. Because I really don't want to lose any more rim diameter, but I can feel some wax in there. So I'm going to get out a little isopropyl, rub that down, and then see if it's something worth either filling. I don't want to lose any more diameter, although we have some diameter to lose here. Now look at how thick this wall is. Yeah, I think it's probably smarter for us to take a small pass up from here. So this is on the fly kind of thinking, guys. When I get up to something where that's the only spot left on the bowl is a teeny little dimp right here, and it still has some of the anchor seal stuck in it. It's very small. It could easily sand out, but I think we'd be smarter off to go ahead and pull up here just a teeny bit more so we can keep all that together. We turned past that knot. If you noticed, that knot was inside. Now it's gone. I'd stabilized that earlier. So now we'll just keep pulling that top up until we get a really, really good rim. I've come around to the headstock side and just using the wing of the tool, Again, I'm sure there's 20 ways to do what I just did, and I'd love if you got a comment or something, a way that you would have handled that differently, I'd love to hear it. But we've got a nice round edge now. Nice and smooth going up there. We should be able to start sanding at 180 without a problem. And so I'm going to go ahead and start sanding. I'll put it on time lapse. I know we're still waiting for the poll to come back on exactly how much sanding you guys want to see. But I'm going to sand this by hand using Abernet. Turn on the dust collector, going in reverse, and we'll just be able to get all that sanded up quick. I'm going to go all the way to 400, use the shop grit, shop shine, and then we'll flip it around on this teeny weeny little tenon and take care of the inside. Okay, we got the outside sanded up to 800. Exhaust just feeling crazy. And now we can go ahead and do a little of the shop grit. I don't know if you guys got to see that video. I had a couple people request it, so I put a video together on how I make my shop grit. Just a little pasty goodness here. And I'm going to apply it on by hand first before we go over and turn it on and buff it off. Just because it's a little thin right now because of how hot it's been in the shop. I think we're 85 degrees in the shop, and that keeps it a little bit thinner than normal. I could probably make a winter blend and a summer blend with the, I would think that the summer blend would just have like maybe 30% more beeswax. I'm going to get around the bottom here a little bit, even though that foot probably come right off. I still want to protect it, get an idea what it's going to look like. So we've got that in there. That looks pretty good, but we don't see anywhere near the shine we're expecting to see. So let's grab a blue shop towel, a nice dry one here. A clean one. All you saw me doing earlier was spraying a little distilled water and to raise the grain, knock it down, and to get the sawdust out. So we are going to spin it up here and forward and buff it off until towel comes back clean. That's the whole trick with this stuff. You just don't want to leave any on there before you move to your next step. But it'll polish the wood really nicely. Remember, we don't wrap our fingers in towels, people. So we just want to clean it off. We've got a little, let's see. Yep, that's it. And we'll be able to put our shine on there. So there's our polished wood. Oh, that feels really nice. Yeah, it feels like crystal here, thin that is already, and we haven't even turned it around to do the other side yet. Nervous. Hopefully this comes together. Didn't start out well though. We had all sorts of issues. So I'm putting a little bit of our shop shine here. I'm going to apply this while we're sped up. It's kind of melted into the wood. Remember, this is beeswax, carnauba, mineral oil, and some lemon oil essence. And our other one, there's a, like I said, I'll put a video in, link up to that video if you guys haven't seen it. It's the DIY Shop Grit and Shine, just so you can see how I make it. There was one good comment from one of my viewers who said that, hey, just for safety, you should use a double boiler. I've gotten both responses. The guy who taught me how to do it told me it wasn't necessary if you keep an eye on it, but I could definitely see the advantages of having that double boiler there. Just a little insulation. You could, light your oil on fire if you're not careful or you're overheating it or something. So I would definitely put that out there. All right. I think that is what our outside's going to look like, unless we decide it needs a trip to the Beal wheel. Ooh, it's pretty. What do you think? A little some buoyancy up here, a little dancing color, all those bird's eyes, our pink spalting, some gray spalting. I think that's pretty spectacular looking on the outside. And like I said, it is smooth. That's smooth. Okay, let's flip her around. We're going to swap out chucks for the smaller versions. My little teeny Amazon chuck. And then we'll do the inside. Okay, that went pretty smoothly. So I've got it mounted to the other chucks. Make sure to close up our shop grit so we don't make a mess everywhere. Okay, let's see here. We're clear. So I'm going to go ahead and get my face mask. And we will attack this using the same gouge. I'm going to just use the 1/2-inch bowl gouge. And I think from the angle you're at, we should be real easy on this one. I'll flatten the rim off a little bit here. Let's see how that flare looks on the rim. Pretty cool. Still see up here though, we've got to get past that. It's going to scream like that because we're getting thin and get a shallow cut, but ooh, look how pretty that wood is. Woohoo! Okay, that's a win. We still have quite a bit of, not quite a bit, but I mean, just a good 1/8 of an inch of material I can still work with here. Those interior cuts. A little shear scrape here. So those interior cuts, remember we had the bowl is oval, it's out of round, so we had to take care of that first. And then we just got to find a wall thickness that we like, and I like that. So now let's get rid of that little break off from the coring process here. I'm doing this so I can get a nice, quick, easy pass to the bottom. Drop the tool rest a little bit here, hold on. I do not want to nick my bowl after I got the rim all thin. Okay, I'm going to do one little pull out. Grab our little nub there and okay, there's still be a little bump there. I can feel it right there. But going down to the bottom is good. So let's get out our bottom feeder. And I'm just going to take a couple of light little passes here just to smooth that before we sand. Still one little nub there. And that I might need to get with the wing of the bowl gouge. And I think that went pretty quick, guys, and that is ready for sanding. Now on the inside, I will machine sand with a 3-inch disc. I'll probably use the Abernet, pull in the dust collector and everything here so we get nice clean sand. And I'll put you guys on a time lapse. That was 6 minutes to hollow the inside of the bowl. Not bad. Okay, it's time for everyone's favorite. A little shop shine. A little shop grit first. Still have our towel from last time, so we can apply that. We do have a little bit of a rough edge here where the little bit of the live edge burl is still there. So we will want to be mindful of that when we spin up the speed. And I may follow suit with the other partner bowl from this, the mother core, this whole series here, and shellac just that little tip of the burl natural edge that we left. Although I'm not sure it's necessary, but it might add some nice unity to the whole series, kind of like the whole piece will have the same kind of basic vibe. But that's all of the shop grit we're going to need there. And again, I haven't figured out why my silicone quote-unquote seal isn't working. So we've got that spun up. Get a nice cleaner towel here. Start with a clean section. Just holding it in, and nothing wrapped around my fingers or anything like that. I'm just going to work off the grit. Just want to make sure we don't have any grit coming back once we are in there. Coming off pretty clean. Let's see if we got a cleaner spot here. Here we go. Nice clean spot. Just see if we're getting it all off of there or not. Pretty good. What do you think of that? Now that's just polished wood now. Little mineral oil. You know, there's the beeswax mineral and stuff. There's grit, and that's what we used to get out all the little 400. We went all the way to 800 grit on that one. I was just feeling adventurous and I happen to have some 800 grit and 600 grit here at the sanding station. So I'm like, let's do it. What could it hurt? I'll get out our shop shine and I'm going to let this haze over, kind of like the old McGuire's wax you'd use on your cars. So I'm going to rub a nice liberal coat of this on, and then I'm going to let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes. And we'll come back and buff it off after it's had a chance to kind of work itself in. This has got a little bit of carnauba in it, and I think that that's probably worth letting it just seal up. We'll come back, we'll buff that off, and then we'll flip it around and see if that tenon survived as a foot, and if it didn't, then we'll address that. Should be really easy now for us to either sand that off flat by hand or carve it or do something interesting with it. I really don't have another way to remount this. There's no center dot, unfortunately, because of the way the cores work, and I didn't think of adding one while we had it flipped around. That would probably have been a smart thing, to take a pencil and run it in so we have that little white dot in the middle to tell us where center is. That would have been useful. I didn't think of that. Now I've thought of it. You're the benefactor. All right, let's let this huddle up and then we'll polish it off. Alrighty, it's had a little time to harden up a bit, so now we can polish it off. I'm going to be spinning right around 1200, 1300 RPM. Or 1442 is what it says. No towel wrapped in my hand. Just going to come in here and just kind of buff it in. Just a little bit of pressure. You see it's just going to start to shine. Now, I spend a little more time at the lathe on the interiors of bowls because I really have a hard time getting a good polish on the, or what do you call it, a good buff, or yeah, I guess it's just a polish. When I take it over to my little Beal system, getting the insides of bowls is usually pretty difficult with the system I have. If I had a slightly smaller one, maybe a 6-inch wheel instead of a 12-inch wheel, it might be easier. I'm not sure. But I like to do it here. And there you go. That looks pretty good. It's nice and smooth. Definitely has that burl vibe. But you can still feel the wood there. I mean, you can still feel the grain as you run your hands over it, but it's very smooth and pretty. So okay, let's flip this around and see how we want to address that tenon. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and take it. Oh, got a nice sharp edge up here. Something to think about. Just pop it off the tenon there. We still have a nice little foot. We had it the right size. We don't really have any knobs or anything. So if I hand sand that up, sign it, it's got a nice little shadow line. I'll have to get you guys down in a spot where you can see that, but just nice and thin. Sounds pretty. Looks pretty. All right, let me sand up that bottom. You don't want to watch that. We'll get a signature on here, and then we'll bring it back, get it on the spinner. And look what I did up here. I left my chuck key in. That's a no-no. Never leave your chuck key in your chuck. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. All right, so there's our little fill. Be an easy sanding. Get that signed. Be right back, guys. Well, there it is, all finished up. Finished it up today. It's been a rough couple of days, and I'm glad this one's finally done. It's really beautiful, just a lovely piece of wood. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned a little something from it, at least had fun watching. If you did, I'd sure appreciate a like, subscribe. Those comments really help me, and if you share it with one of your friends, that'd help my channel grow, and I'd appreciate that too. In the meantime, guys, get out there and turn something.